You keep asking yourself why people talk over you, why your words carry no weight, why others allow themselves things with you that they would never allow with someone else. The answer is not pleasant, but it is simple. For too long, you have confused kindness with weakness, patience with dignity, and the desire to be liked with wisdom. You were taught to be agreeable, to smile, to smooth things over, not to create tension, not to be difficult. But the world does not work that way. The world does not respect those who constantly yield. It tests boundaries, and if there are none, it goes further. Look closely at your life, at your work, your relationships, your conversations. How many times did you stay silent when you should have said no? How many times did you explain yourself to people who never intended to understand you? How many times did you endure, not out of strength, but out of fear of losing approval? That is where your loss begins. Not because you are weak by nature, but because you train people to feel no weight in you. Niccolo Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. In a world of intrigue, betrayal, and constant struggle for influence, he saw something most still refuse to accept. Respect is not born from pleasantness. It comes from clarity, restraint, consistency, and the ability to hold your ground. This is not about cruelty or cheap aggression. It is about no longer being an easy target. It is about returning to your center so that your presence becomes something others must account for. The first rule is simple. Calm strength speaks louder than noise. When people feel disrespected, they usually try to compensate with words. They talk more, explain more, argue more, push harder. But the more you justify yourself, the weaker you appear. A person who is grounded does not chase approval. They do not rush to explain every reaction. They do not react to every provocation. They remain steady. And that steadiness is what creates the impression of strength. Real strength does not make noise. The one who is stable does not need constant confirmation. They can hold silence. They can hold eye contact. They can pause without collapsing into discomfort. That is why some people never raise their voice and still command the entire room. Not because they are louder, but because they are more contained. If you want respect, stop rushing. Stop reacting instantly. Stop chasing those who pull away. Slow down. Observe. The calmer you are in chaos, the more elevated you appear above it. The second rule, a boundary you do not defend does not exist. You can say that something is unacceptable, but if you allow it again and again, your words lose meaning. Endless patience and constant forgiveness often destroy respect, not because forgiveness is wrong, but because the absence of consequences teaches others that everything is allowed. People quickly adapt to what you tolerate. First they test you lightly, then they go further, and eventually they stop hiding their disrespect because they know you will accept it. That is not strength. That is surrender. One calm, clear, timely response can change more than 100 explanations. One firmly held boundary can reset the entire dynamic. You do not need anger. You do not need revenge. But if a line is drawn, it must be held. Otherwise, it is not a boundary. It is decoration. The third rule, do not say everything you think and do not reveal yourself too early. Excessive openness is often mistaken for honesty. You believe that if you explain everything, you will be understood. That if you show your wounds, people will appreciate your sincerity. Sometimes they will, often they will not. What you reveal too early is often used against you, whether consciously or not. Not everyone has the maturity to handle what you share. Not every space is safe. Not every person deserves access. Restraint is not deception. It is discipline. Not everything must be said immediately. Not everyone needs to know where you are vulnerable. Some things must mature inside you before they are spoken. A wound that is still open, placed in the wrong hands, becomes exposure, not strength. A strong person is not necessarily closed. They are precise. They know what to say, when to say it, to whom, and why. The fourth rule, Respect matters more than being liked. The desire to be liked leads to compromise after compromise. You say yes when you mean no. You stay silent when you should intervene. You smile when something inside you resists. You sacrifice your position to keep the atmosphere comfortable. But the cost is real. When someone is always agreeable, they stop being taken seriously. Their kindness becomes background noise. Their availability becomes expected. Their softness becomes a point of pressure. Love without respect is unstable. Today, they appreciate you. Tomorrow, they use you. Later, they forget you. Respect is more stable because it does not depend on mood. It comes from the understanding that you will not betray yourself for approval. This does not mean becoming cold. It means no longer living in constant accommodation. Be clear, be direct, be fair, but stop trying to be liked at the expense of your spine. The fifth rule: rarity increases impact. Everything that is constant becomes invisible. Words, attention, presence, even kindness lose value when they are always available. When you are always there, always responding, always accessible, you become background. And background is not respected. Some believe authority comes from constant presence. Often it is the opposite. Authority grows when a person does not scatter themselves everywhere, when they do not comment on everything, when they are not always available. Distance creates perception. Pause restores meaning. Sometimes, to be felt again, you must withdraw from excess. Step back from unnecessary conversations. Reduce access for those who no longer value it. The one who is always available becomes convenience. The one who is not easily reached becomes a presence. The sixth rule: do not reveal your intentions before they are ready. Many people weaken their position before they even begin because they talk too early. They announce plans, share ideas, seek validation. But unfinished things are fragile. Doubt, envy, misunderstanding, even careless words can damage what is not yet formed. Action needs silence, not for manipulation, but for protection. Build first, strengthen. Reach the point where it cannot be undone, then speak. When you speak after action, your words carry a different weight, not as hope, but as fact. The seventh rule: real respect begins when you are no longer controlled by the fear of loss. As long as you are afraid of being rejected, replaced, forgotten, or abandoned, you remain controllable. That fear leaks into everything: your tone, your decisions, your boundaries. You soften where you should stand firm. You hold back where you should be clear. True strength begins when you can say, "I do not want to lose this, but I will not lose myself to keep it." That is freedom. Not indifference, not coldness, but freedom from inner compromise. The one who cannot be pressured through fear of loss becomes difficult to manipulate. And that creates quiet respect, but none of this works without facing uncomfortable truths. The first truth: you want respect, but you fear the loneliness that sometimes comes with it. Because having boundaries means not always being liked. Having a position means not always being understood. Standing firm means sometimes standing alone. Many cannot tolerate that. They want respect, but they are not ready for the distance it creates. So they soften, adapt, return to being agreeable because it feels warmer. But warmth without respect dissolves you. If you want to be taken seriously, you must accept that sometimes respect comes before closeness. The second truth: you say you want peace, but often you are just avoiding conflict. Peace is not silence under pressure. It is not enduring everything. It is not suppressing yourself to avoid tension. Real peace is built on clear boundaries. A person who cannot defend their space does not gain peace. They invite intrusion. Stop romanticizing your tolerance. If you constantly retreat, it is not wisdom. It is fear. The third truth: what you call honesty is sometimes just unguarded vulnerability. Not every confession makes you stronger. Not every openness creates connection. Sometimes it is a hidden request to be accepted. Strengthen what you want to show before you show it. Then your words will not sound like a plea, but like a position. The fourth truth: avoiding conflict often attracts those who exploit it. People who dominate, manipulate, or push others quickly recognize who will not resist. They test, they push, they escalate. If you keep smoothing things over, they go further. Not because the world is evil, but because unprotected ground invites pressure. Conflict is not poison. It is a signal. It shows who respects you when you stand your ground. The fifth truth: you try too hard to be understood. You exhaust yourself explaining, justifying, clarifying, but respect rarely comes to those who constantly seek to be correctly interpreted. Sometimes the strongest position is to say what is necessary and stop. No justification, no over-explaining. From here, the real work begins. Not performance, not posture, but internal alignment. First, take control of your body. Before you speak, your body has already spoken. Your posture, your breathing, your pace, your gaze. If you want weight, move like someone who does not need to justify their presence. Stand straight, slow down, breathe deeper, hold your gaze. Do not rush to fill silence. Authority begins in presence, not in words. Second, stop trying to be liked by everyone. You are not meant to fit everywhere. Stop softening your truth to make it comfortable. This is not about being harsh. It is about not selling your center for temporary approval. Third, make silence your foundation. Do not fill every gap. Let pauses exist. Let others sit in them. Let your restraint create weight. Well-held silence often speaks stronger than explanation. Fourth, set boundaries once and hold them. Not through endless arguments, but through consistency. What gives your no strength is not explanation, but stability. Fifth, step away from what weakens you. There are environments, people, and habits that slowly dilute your presence. If you stay there, you will fade. Strength requires space. Sixth, act before you speak. Less announcing, less preparing others for your decisions. Do what needs to be done, then explain if necessary. That is how you move from seeking permission to holding authority. Seventh, become the one who can lose without breaking. As long as you depend on being chosen, you are not free. The moment you accept that you can walk away without losing yourself, your entire presence changes. You do not need to become someone else. You do not need to play a role. You need to stop giving yourself away too cheaply. This is not a set of tricks. It is a return to alignment where your thoughts, words, boundaries, and actions no longer contradict each other. That is where respect is born, not in noise, not in force, but in the quiet, precise strength of someone who no longer asks permission to be themselves. Now ask yourself, are you ready to be less convenient in order to be more respected? Are you ready to lose some approval, to regain your voice? Are you ready to stand alone for a while so you never have to betray yourself again? Because everything changes, not when the world becomes softer, but when you stop being easy to bend.